Hey there everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Northwest Craftsman. Today I am going to be putting some drainage in front of my new wood shop because it's on a hill, and when it rains the rain just kind of trickles right on in. Not a ton, not that it floods anything, but I'd like to try and divert that water elsewhere. So today I'm going to be going through and excavating that trench and showing you guys how I go through that process, so that if you need to add some French drain water drainage to your property, you know how I did it, to see if it's even close to how you want to do it. Alrighty, here we go. So we're standing in front of my shop right now. Here's where that is, but you can see how it kind of comes downhill into the front entryway of the shop. And I don't have a slab in the shop yet, but one of the things that you'll notice, see if I can get the lighting to get right, is right underneath here. You can kind of see where we've driven the tractor over the front of it, but basically I'll get two bleed-in spots in my shop every time it's raining heavily out here. And we're not even in the heavy part of the rainy season, so we're just in summer right now. So my plan is to basically dig a trench that comes down through here, out across to where you see that wheelbarrow, and there I have it Y into the duct that we have coming down from our gutter right there, so that it'll run off to the backyard. So today I'm going to go through, I'm going to time-lapse you through this whole dig portion right here, and then I'll talk more specifically about what I'm going to be laying down. The trench is all the way dug. I will say I am not the most experienced excavator operator, so I was able to get the vast majority of everything out of the trench. But like in here, you can see I had to, I spilled a whole bunch more in as I was driving over the trench, and then I wasn't really able to get it out. So there will still be a little bit of shovel work that I need to do, but now what I need to do is make sure that I've got a downhill slope from that side all the way to that side, to make sure that the water continues to flow in the correct direction. So with the really coarse grading done, now moving on to the fine grading, and what I'm going to use is my laser level here with a transponder. Basically this guy pulses at like 10,000 hertz or something, and it reads this because you can't necessarily see the laser anywhere around to see where you're actually hitting. So what you can do is you use this guy, and then as it passes through the laser, it'll beep at you for whether you're on, too high, too low, etc. So I'm going to clamp that to this post over here, and then basically just march my way through the trench to make sure that it's going at a steady downslope all the way across. So the slope that I was looking to get on here was 1/4 inch for every foot, or every 4 feet I wanted to get 1 inch of drop, and that's about what I was getting. I'll do one final check once I get through the next step, but that's the coarse grading, and then once I got done there, it's way downhill all the way through, which is why I stopped basically at the corner. With all of this now flowing to the correct grade, I wanted to go through and talk about how exactly I'm going to tee it into my rain gutter line. This is 4-inch rain gutter line that I had measured. This was put in by the previous owner. And basically it comes down from the gutter right here underneath the ground and comes around there. If you see the PVC pipe in the background, that used to go to sprinklers, but it's defunct at this point, so I'm just leaving it there rather than tearing it all out. But what I'm going to be doing at this point is I wanted to add a clean out rather than just wiring it in, so that if any of this gets really nasty and gross, I can do one of those pressure washer, pull back, whatever clean outs, and have the ability to inspect the line a little bit, especially because they don't have a gutter filter, or we don't have a gutter filter on this. And so it's possible that we could get some clogging in here, and so I want to have some area right in the middle of the run, coming from there, and then out to the backyard, where I can come through and I can clean it out a little bit easier than trying to reach in all the way from the backyard up to this point and then try and hit the Y so that I can get up this line if I have to. Now, my recommendation, because I spent a lot of time trying to figure this one out, PVC and these rain gutter or French drain attachments aren't generally supposed to work together, but I found that the 4-inch T does match out with a 4-inch ABS connector, but what I did is I caulked, I used silicone caulk to caulk this in place because it just sits loosely on these little tiny teeth right here. And so, not because I'm trying to make it leak proof, but I'm trying to make sure that it stays in place and doesn't pull out. I basically just filled the gap all the way around there, set that in place, and then now I should have the ability to jump in here whenever I want, clean out, and do whatever I need. The rest of it was pretty standard and straightforward. I just grabbed a Y connector. So basically what that's going to do is that's going to sit on like this. The Y portion is going to go to the existing rain adapter. The straight up portion is going to go into the line, which is going to run up, trying to get it as close to the edge of the line there as possible, and then running all the way up the trench. So that's that. I'm going to go ahead and get this portion installed, and then we'll talk about what exactly I'm laying in the trench. So this guy worked for me with the particular brands that I have on hand, but I highly recommend that you go to your local store, wherever you're going to buy these things, and just dry fit all the connectors together and make sure that it's going to work. And even better is if you have a extra piece that you can take in to make sure that it actually fits into the connectors. Highly recommend it because I tried to get some of the stuff online and all the pieces were wrong. So just go into the store and actually do the dry fit plumbing exercise to make sure that the pieces go together the way that you expect, especially when you have something different like ABS going into something that it was never really intended to go into in the first place. Next up, again, now that I've got this trench ready, I'm going to go ahead and lay down some filter fabric all the way around. Actually, I take that back. I'm going to lay down some 3/4 ballast gravel in the bottom here, so I've got a tiny little bit of gravel bed that I can work with. And then I'm going to go through and lay down some filter fabric, and then I'm going to put down more gravel, put my pipe, surround my pipe with 3/4 ballast rock, which for those of you that don't know, 3/4 ballast is just washed 3/4 minus, so it's literally just 3/4 like that, as opposed to 3/4 minus, which I have over here, which has all of the fines and everything else on the inside. That'll clog your filter and clog your French drain really fast, but it is really good for a driveway where it'll compact nicely, but we want to keep good drainage all the way through the soil. So bottom layer of this filter fabric, put my pipe in, surround the pipe with this stuff, fold the filter fabric on top, fill in with this all the way up to the top, and that should be good. Well, per the usual on gravel estimates, you should always double or triple what you think you're going to need. As you can see, I am a little bit short. I got this mostly filled, that mostly filled so I could pull the tractor out, but I still got gaps all the way around. So I'm gonna go ahead and get a couple more yards, and then we're gonna fill the rest of that in. folks, there we go, all fully filled in with about 3 times as much gravel as I had originally anticipated. Somebody told me recently, and I fully agree with this, you will never have too much gravel, but you will almost always have too little gravel, so always get yourself more. By the specs that are on the French drain piping that I got, I think they're supposed to be 12 inches over the top, which up here I got probably 14 plus inches just to make sure that I had the correct downslope, because it kind of humps up in the middle there, and then it comes down nicely. And then over here it's a little bit thin just because of where the existing pipe was and making sure that it flows downhill into that. But I got everything in. I mounted it up ever so slightly so that when we top dress the rest of the driveway and get it back to nice, this still sits pretty nice. I don't really want to put 3/4 minus over the top of this to clog up everything that I just put in. But now for some lessons learned. Number 1, as I said, get plenty of gravel. Make sure that you have plenty of gravel on hand if you're getting it delivered. For me, it wasn't an issue to go get more because I've got a gravel pit right at the bottom of the hill that I live on, so it's about a 10-minute drive. And with my dump trailer, it was easy to get that and go ahead and dump it back in. So I was able to grab just a little bit at a time to make sure that I topped off with exactly what I needed and had just a teeny tiny bit left over for other projects. Number 2. Use a dump trailer if you can. I originally got the first 5 yards delivered, and so they were over there, and you could see how I was slowly filling in this entire pit, one wheelbarrow at a time to get it started. And then even after I got done with that, I pulled the tractor out and tried to throw a couple scoops on. Doing it manually was much harder. Using the tractor was better, but then I still had to try and scrape off the bottom and not get too much dirt in there. Number 3, where I had the dump trailer, it was great. I just backed it right up and in and dumped it all in at a time. So as the process moved on, because my quarry was close, honestly, I'd probably just use the dump trailer from here on out rather than trying to get a big load delivered, because it was so much easier to just dump it in, unless the pile is big enough that I can use the tractor for it. But try to pre-plan to do as little shoveling as possible. There will always be a little bit at the beginning as you're getting things prepped and at grade, but really try to utilize the machinery as best you can. Number 3, don't do the filter fabric with French drain issue. They've got a couple of different versions, and it was a little bit cheaper and theoretically better to do the filter fabric with rocks around the pipe because you get more surface area on the filter fabric. But boy howdy, was it a royal pain in the butt, and realistically in practice I couldn't get the rocks around the pipe the way I wanted to without the pipe just kind of like bubbling up to the top or the sides of it falling in. So if I was to do this again, I would just recommend put a nice bed of gravel on the bottom, get the socked version of the French drain pipe, or buy the sock in addition to the French drain pipe, throw that around it, and then fill it with plenty of gravel all the way around. That should provide plenty of filtration. I see a lot of people moving over to it, and I can personally attest to it being way easier than trying to manage the roll of filter fabric. Number 4, I don't know how you would have done this sloping downhill ever so slightly to make sure that you actually had proper drainage had you not had a laser level. If you don't have one of those laser levels, I've got a link in the description, but honestly, I have found it so useful across the property for using a variety of things. If you have installed these before and you know how to get a proper drop when you've got undulating land over the top, I would love to hear from you and love to hear how you do it in a non-21st century way with a laser level. But honestly, that was a huge help for me in making sure that my pipe ran exactly how it needed to, all the way from the top down to the bottom. Well, thank you guys for joining me. I really appreciate it. As always, I'm looking forward to getting back to woodworking projects as opposed to just building out the property projects, but this is in support of building up my wood shop, which will be coming very shortly. I'm about to finish running utilities to it, and I'm so stinking excited for that. So if you guys have any questions about this particular project, what I did, different things that I used, go ahead and put that in the comment section down below. I will include links to all the different things that I was using throughout the course of this project, or all the little consumable things. Keep in mind though, all the piping and everything else will be pretty specific to your area and what brand is there, so make sure that you have compatibility. Don't just blindly order the stuff online and get it shipped to you and hope that it's going to work. I really honestly recommend going into your local home store or whatever that is in your area, testing out the parts, make sure they all fit together the way that you expect, because yeah, honestly, I mean, I just did it just earlier where I needed a coupler for a different part of the line and it didn't fit because it was a different brand and it's meant for different piping. So honestly, just go into the store, check it out, make sure that everything fits together. But I will have links down in the description below for all the stuff that I did during the course of this. So thank you guys tons. Again, I really appreciate you sticking around. Hope you have a great one and good luck on your project. Bye.